Hey everybody, we're back. Now I think I just managed to post that chat with Curtis, and now I'm hoping, Curtis, if you can see me, I'm hoping that you'll come back on, because we were just getting to a spot there. We were getting to a very good spot. Let's hope. I don't see him. So Curtis, if you're listening, you kind of request to join back on, and hopefully it'll. Okay. Hey Donald. Okay. We'll wait. But Curtis, we were talking. We were talking about history, and we were talking about Curtis's grandfather was the first successful cesarean birth in America, which was kind of an incredible story. Hopefully we can get him back on. We can continue the conversation. Hello, everybody. Bonjour. Start playing a song and he'll be back. You're absolutely right. Connection recorded. Insightful questions and answers. Would love to hear. Yeah, me too. I'd love to hear an uninterrupted conversation. Hi, Kes. Somebody says, hello, Kes. Come and say hello. Come and say hello to everybody. Hello. Hello. She's Curtis, are you there? Let me know if you show up. I hope you do. Curtis. Okay, now I see some names coming through. Sliphorn. So now, let's hope we can continue here. You're back.
Yeah.
Okay, Curtis. While we have a fairly decent connection, I'm just going to ask you a couple of questions from some of the people who've tuned in.
Okay.
Like I was basically making before we were cut off that we've traveled the world together in our band, and we've traveled America together. And one of the questions that came in was from Mark Geary, who's a songwriter who's also traveled an awful lot.
Yeah, Mark.
You know Mark, of course, yeah.
Yeah.
And
we're in touch.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Mark asked me, is there any parts of America that you don't necessarily look forward to traveling to? And he was talking in reference to that film, that wonderful movie that came out recently, The Green Book. I really enjoyed it.
Don Shirley.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering if there's any parts of the world that you don't necessarily. I mean, I've got a memory of us on a train in Russia, which got kind of hairy, but we had a great time, and Russia's an amazing place to go play, and the Russians were so great to us. But we did have a hairy moment with a kind of a racist guy on the train, which was kind of.
Oh, the guy was a sniper. That's what I was told, at least.
Well, and I had to, because my girlfriend Hedy at the time she was going for a man. She's Czech, and the Czechs have they can get a bit angry with the Russians, and so she was really going for him, and he was getting a bit touchy, and so we all had to run, and we were just hoping you didn't show.
I know the friend, when he came back to the bunk area, he was telling me don't go out to the bar or whatever that was, and I took heed.
Fair enough. And we had a great time in Russia. I don't want to sort of with one, but we had a great time over there. But that,
yeah.
But then, is there anywhere that you don't necessarily love?
Well, it's funny. I remember when I was in my 20s, I was playing on the West Indian Calypso circuit, and he's actually probably one of the most well-known artists, Mighty Sparrow. I don't know if you remember his name. So we were coming into Boston, we were driving in, and we pull up into a gas station. Unbeknownst to us, it's in the south side of Boston, and this is during the 70s. And while we're getting gas, somebody just drives by and throws something at us. Like they stop their bike and they throw stuff at us. And then it's like, whoa, what's going on, you know? And the guy I was riding with was from the Caribbean, very intense fella. He didn't really know where we were either, but we were like being kind of taken on by, like anybody that saw us kind of had a response. It was like, oh, wow, let's get out of here. So we got the gas and left, and that left an impression of Boston on me. But after working at the circus and going to Boston, you know, it changed for me. I didn't have the same feeling, but I know that particular time in that area of South Boston, it was very, very intense.
Heavy feeling.
You know, yeah, yeah. So Boston was the one that I first recalled traveling to and saying, "Wow, you know, this is friendly towards."
Yeah, I was really surprised. We had a day off in California. We were traveling down from. We had just played San Francisco, and we were coming down to Los Angeles, and we had a day off in between. And I was really surprised. We had a day off in a town near Mendocino. It was near Mendocino. It wasn't Mendocino. And I remember, and I hope Earl doesn't mind me saying this, but Earl, our drummer, I remember him sort of, man, like, as,
okay.
you know, he was just a bit free. I mean, because I remember going out for a walk, and I remember the place feeling, I can't remember the name of the town, but I remember it kind of heavy, you know, there was a sort of a heaviness. I remember, you know, Earl saying, I'm not even going to go into town, you know, because I don't like this.
Earl, he's lived in California, but mainly in L.A., right? I think.
Yeah, I think he lived in LA, but I remember he talked about this one particular town. Speaking for Earl would know better than I would, but I just remember it's the only time I was actually surprised. I would have thought California was really liberal, but he was like, man, he said that was a heavy town, you know, because I think he may have had experience there from before, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you know, that was Reagan country for a while there.
Yeah.
You know, Southern Cal.
Yeah.
So there is definitely elements, but yeah, I agree. I find, you know, California, if you travel, it's like from a very cool hippie vibe to you know, lefty, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd say, and
Thinking about other places, well, some places I expect to certain kind of encounters, and when they don't occur, I'm kind of surprised. Like, you know, when you go out, well, Iowa, but I didn't know about Iowa. You know, we were touring, and we went. I know we spent time in Iowa. I forgot which town it was, and they had They have the town that has the statue of Bix Beiderbecke, the trumpet player from the jazz scene in the 30s and 40s. And, you know, I was like, I think it was Ames, Iowa, or something like
right.
that.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, the South, of course. I remember stopping there when we were traveling with the jazz, Kansas, the Robert Altman movie, and they had the band. You know, we were on tour, and we stopped in Alabama and just rest stop. And so the guys, like, you know, tooling in and out, jazz musicians, you know, these guys. And the guys that are in there are also getting some stuff. And they had camouflage stuff on there, like camouflage gear. And they were saying, one guy to the other when they were leaving, let's go kill something.
Oh.
Ooh, ouch. I think they were just going hunting, but, you know, it was like,
Yeah.
let's go kill something.
But they were saying for people to hear. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's loud enough for you to hear.
Yeah. God. I'll never forget, we had an incredible night, Curtis. We were playing at a place called the Truman, and at the concert, our guys, you guys invited us down. You and Michael and Dave were going down to sit in at a Green Lady Lounge, and the whole band went with you. You know, so it was after the conversation, and we went down to the club, and we had Earl Harvin on drums, Carol on keyboard, Michael Buckley on saxophone, Smith, and yourself on trombone. And I so blown away by these guys that I play in a band. Seeing you guys do your thing, like play jazz, because you guys are playing my songs, and the arrangements you guys have put to my songs are incredible. And I've always felt like, wow, incredible. There's Mikko, yeah, he was, and we stood in the bar, we stood in that bar, got to watch shine. It really truly blew my mind. You know, the real answers.
Yeah, I remember because the people there that were playing, they turned out to be so warm towards us and so friendly, you know, and encouraging. Usually, sometimes you could fall into a business like, oh, these hot shotty guys trying to, you know. It was none of that. It was like lovely vibe. I thought, you know,
Yeah.
from the people. I forgot what city was that? Oh man. Oh yeah. Oh. No, I remember that. Man. It was.
Yeah, amazing time.
Yeah, those tours had some great moments, you know.
Really, it really did, and we miss you. And someone was making the point earlier on how much we miss you. And you know, one of the things I'd love to talk about in regard to race and in regard to the whole thing about, you know, when we played together. One of the things that really struck me about when you would step forward on the stage and you would sing Wedding Ring or you would play solos, one of the things really always struck me about how the audience responded to you when you came to the center of the stage was that they got this, because it would be very reductive to say, you know, yeah, you know, he's kind of the real deal, or he's the black guy, and you know, that he's like a little bit of the authentic. But actually what it truly was, certainly from where I see it now, is you're a dyed-in-the-wool older gentleman, jazz musician, who've paid your dues all your life. You're the real thing. You know, you come out of a tradition of music that goes back centuries now. You know, jazz music was born in the 19th century in New Orleans, and you're part of a movement of music. You know, of course you play in my band, you know, you're playing these kind of popular songs with Guy, but actually when you step forward, I think people have a connection back into something much more. So, you know, I just wanted to, I wondered, I wonder what kind of sense you got from our audience. Hey, Sam.
Yeah. Well, there definitely is some of that, you know, element, especially since the musicians that you have assembled have so many of those connections. You know, of course, Michael, you know, his family connection is pretty deep, and you know, just communicating with them on and off the bandstand, you know, just made it more, first of all, comfortable for me, and I didn't feel like I was stepping out into, you know, an evil mosh pit or something. It was love, you know, and we would move to little areas, like you would hint at some Prince, or you'd hint at some Marvin Gaye, and you know, so it's kind of, the flavors were like, you know, were many, and they were being offered up to, I think most of the audiences loved it. I thought, you know, the stew that you brought to the audiences like every night. It made me feel confident, actually, because you know, we would go into these festivals and, you know, large events. It's like, well, I know we're gonna kick some ass, you know. I don't know, you know, in all due respect to what you're doing, you know.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you know, like I grew up a white kid, a working class kid in Dublin, and you know, my first introduction to black music, I mean, of course, it would have been Bob Marley, because Marley was like he was like a god of of my community. Like there was Bob Marley and there was Luke Kelly. Luke Kelly is a singer of a band called the Dubliners, which are like a, you know, Irish band, real working class singing, you know, incredible songs. My introduction to black music on a deeper level would have come through Brona Gallagher. Brona was a friend of mine, and she was also with me in a film called The Commitments, which was a, you know, an Irish film, you know, a bunch of white kids, soul music. And you know, I remember touring with Brona in like,
Oh, yeah, bro.
you know, Brona, yeah, she's from Derry,
Yeah.
and Brona was
Yeah.
very much connected with the civil rights movement in the north of Ireland. You know, very strong, and grew up in the
Yeah.
open
Too, man.
all of that difficulty, and you know, and Brona introduced me to the Last Poets, and I was knocked out. Like, and she was listening to Ice-T, listening to the Funky Eaters, you know, and for me it was, and then of course there was Nina Simone, and you know, and then Curtis Mayfield, and Curtis was like this, like, blah, you know, just what a world. And so Brona was really my, you know, Brona and also Ben Davey were really my way into the sort of deeper end of soul music, and what follows is jazz, and being on the road with you, you know, you've turned me on to some Cannonball, the, you know, like the Cologne concert, Keith Jarrett, who else now? Let me see. Pharaoh Sanders, you know, like
Yeah.
some of these incredible people that I've learned about through you. But it's interesting that the Commitments was, you know, the civil rights movement, and very much reflected the civil rights movement, you know, in America in a very different way, of course. But you know, it's very interesting to me to hear about, you know, do you have hope for the moment where?
Well, I know it always reminds me of the Bill Frisell song called "Look Out for Hope." You know, it's really, you got to look for it. That's for sure. It's not so evident right now because you know, I'm talking to people and I'm getting all sides of the situation. Some people saying, "Look, man, you know, I may never play again. I may never do another show." You know, and people, you know, and other people are saying, "Wow, you know, I never even considered that." You know, but you know, given our reality, it's definitely threatening and it's unsettling. You know, I was just talking to my son about that because he's talking about trying to face the realization like that we're going to be all our own producers and our own artists, and our community of people are who we should be producing and kind of shaking up like the way things are being shaking up now. And I'm listening to a lot of young people, and there's artists that are out there now that are like friends of mine's sons, and you know, next generation, and they're speaking with different voices.
Yeah.
You know, I've met this young man named Nick Hakim. He's an interesting young fellow, and he's doing some good things. And we asked our old bodies up against some of his music, and he appreciated it. So it's an interesting time. You're right,
Yeah.
really. I don't know. I can't point to one direction and say that's where it's going.
Yeah. 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 And also, you know, I think the whole civil rights movement right now is also it's born out of, you know, in a way it's born out of of course the systematic violence against young black men in America by the police, which is just very, very obvious. You know, you look at how many people are incarcerated, you look at the numbers in prison, you look at the prison system, you look at the prison business, and it becomes very clear. You know, there's a wonderful book, I don't know if anyone wants a good book recommendation, but there's a wonderful book that I know you and I have spoken about, Curtis, Uh, and the book, I don't think the book title is very good, but the book is great. It's the book called Gentrification of Mind by Sarah Schulman. Uh, and
Mm.
it talked about the systematic removal of the black community from New York City. And it talked about about when after the Second World War gave white ex soldiers, you know,
Mm-hmm.
kind of a tax break on new houses uh,
Mm-hmm.
outside of, in Rochester or in, Hudson or, places outside of the city. But then they realized after the 70s that the city was broke because New York City had kind of ghettoized, if you like. The term ghetto is a very political, the same way the word
Mm-hmm.
famine is a political word. But I just use it to describe how and how they described it. And she talks about how the city fathers got together and basically came up with this. The title of the book is Gentrification of the Mind. And
Mm-hmm.
the city fathers would got together and basically came up with this idea that they have to basically clear the city and start attracting white folks back to the city. And
Mm-hmm.
and part of that was the systematic harassment of young black men who maybe got caught in a corner a joint and got put in prison. So basically, they basically harassed people out of their neighborhoods, and it's a
Mm-hmm.
interesting read. But I'm like even in modern day Bed-Stuy, where you are in Brooklyn, Curtis, I know that people have been walking door to door offering to buy your house. Can you talk a little bit about that? Have you seen your neighborhood change?
Oh, no, definitely. I don't have to look very far. I can look to my left, and there's people that the houses are at this point. I don't know what's going to happen now with the economic situation. I'm curious to see what's going to happen with gentrification when people are out of jobs and there's no street time without your mask on. It doesn't make it so appealing from the gentrification side, I think. But yeah, my neighbors to the left, they sold. The neighbor to the right just sold her place, and my son is doing real estate. So, I mean, the enormity of the real estate prices now are really, you can look at your friends and people that you have history with, like on this street. My family was actually the first black family on the street. I found that out recently.
Wow.
So you're talking about, but this is from the 30s, early 30s. So, but yeah, the gentrification in Bed-Stuy is pretty intense. But I'm just curious to see what the next few months is going to hold, because there were people leaving. I heard about people like those who can were getting out in the last month or so. If they had a town, they had a home in Southampton or whatever. In fact, they were going to the point where Southampton, their rentals occupied by people that weren't going to leave. They didn't want to come back to the city because of what's going on with the virus. So this is it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
People were
The
squatting
neighbor door,
the big houses.
they were squatting in Southampton, and because they had no interest in coming back into the city. And at the same time, they had the situation where the Southampton landlords were actually legally bound to have them. They couldn't evict them.
Yeah.
So
Those
that's
kind
going to be it's going to be it's going to be
yeah.
the Great Depression that might be down on us. I hate to say it. That'll change the face of a lot of the gentrification that's going on in New York. Curious to see. They'll just be leaving the post you know, see what happens then. It looks like,
yeah,
especially they talking about restaurants and businesses that may not be open again. It's part of the lore of a gentrification. You know,
yeah, yeah,
look
yeah.
at anything that you.
No, no, you did. I think that's really wonderful. Just for those who don't know what the Southampton Hamptons, the Hamptons is like is a kind of a more upscale part of New York, right?
Yeah, Montauk, the Hamptons.
Yeah,
Yeah,
big houses. Yeah.
yeah, especially among
Um,
our celebrity
yeah.
class or whatever.
And so it's funny because at one point it was kind of curious in our band even because you know we have you who's born and raised in Bedford Stuyvesant, and then we had uh, um, Justin, our keyboard player, who was like an Irish guy living in a who's just moved out to Bed-Stuy because Bed-Stuy had a good coffee shop and now had a good. And what's really great about this book, The Gentrification of the Mind, is it really talks about the coffee shop and what the coffee shop represents. It represents bad news for the people who live there because it's the beginning of a
Mm-hmm.
change. You know, it's an interesting. Um, but you know, so we had Justin living in your you living in your neighborhood and you representing the people who've lived there all their lives and who are being somewhat, I guess, you know, moved in upon, approached upon by the kind of young white, upwardly mobile, you know, professional class. So even within our band, there was a very interesting dynamic going on, you know, and Justin's a beautiful
Yeah,
guy in his mate's flat, but interesting conversation to be
take
having.
take Justin on gigs with me here. That on my gigs, an African musician from Rwanda, and he plays, and I was able to get Justin on one of the gigs, and you know he likes Justin. You know how Justin is, sweetheart, and plus he's whatever you like, you know, and a nice. He's got a calming way, and he was very well taken, and you know, so Eric and you know, a German drummer and fitting so comfortably, like you know. Yeah, I even had a little song. You talking about the whole thing, the coffee shop? I had like um, girls, dog, coffee, coffee, dogs, girls. You know, because it's just like girls, dogs, coffee. Because that's like what's happening around here. The girl with the dog going to the coffee, coming back with the dog, and you know,
Yeah.
I hope it wasn't mean spirited, but
Yeah. No,
it
it's
was like a little thing that was passing in my head because I heard that even
oh,
supposedly like real estate people are opening up coffee shops because they know that that's a further enticement.
yeah,
It seals the deal, you know.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
But you know, again, to come back to that book, things that she spoke about.
coffee dogs, girls dogs, coffee. And I turned it to girls love, you know. But not anyway, you want to get me in trouble.
Yeah, folks. Yeah, yeah. Um, okay, Curtis. Well, look, I tell you what, we could talk all night, and I'd love to, but I can see that the line is getting bad again. So maybe
Oh,
we'll
I missed
call it a
that
day.
one.
Oh, you hear?
You say it again?
I was just saying that I could talk to you all night, but I noticed that line is going bad again. Oh, Curtis, maybe you hear me?
Yeah.
Uh, would you tune to say goodbye?
Yeah. Yes.
Would you? Oh, thank you, man. Thank you.
Okay. Great. 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 Thanks.
Thank you. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's starting to have those dead spots like now. Yeah, yeah. No, I don't hear you. I'll play something I played for my mother when she was when we started. My brother played the trumpet, and me and him used to get together.
Oh, Curtis,
Is that visible stuff?
yeah, don't know. We missed all of it. The sound and the sound is way out. Bye bye, Curtis.